Hey guys, it's Al with techmadeezy, and here they are, the Max family. It has been a long time since the Delta II Max got an upgrade. I'm pretty sure you agree with me. I've seen so many posts that said, when will the Delta III Max be out? Well, here it is. And not only do you have one new Max, but you actually have two. In this video, I'll be covering the differences between the Delta II Max, the Delta III Max, and the shiny Delta III Max Plus. So they're coming out with Plus models, and they've got some nice features. Now I'm going to put discount codes for the launch in the video description. So why don't we go ahead and check this out. Hey guys, just a heads up. As you can see, I've got the Delta II Max and I've got the Delta III Max Plus. I don't have the Delta III Max, but I'm going to include specs just in case you're thinking about getting one of these and it'll help your purchasing decision. Don't forget, we'll have discount codes in the video description, but let's check this out. Now I'm going to get started doing the comparison. Keep in mind, I'm going to be covering all of the specs. I'm going to put it on the screen on the right side of each of these systems. And towards the end, we are actually going to take a close look at some of these differences on these power stations. So let's start off with pricing. The Delta II Max launched at $1,899 MSRP, currently selling for $949. And the battery on the Delta II Max is $749 right now. Now the Delta III Max, which is not here, but I'm going to give you all the specs. MSRP is $1,499. Right now it's selling for $799. It doesn't have an expansion battery, so be aware of that. And the Delta III Max Plus, MSRP is $1,899. On sale for $1,099, and you will save more money with our discount code. And the battery is $1,399. Right now, on sale for $799. And stay tuned because it's actually compatible to a few of the batteries. Now, as far as power is concerned, the Delta II Max regular power is 2,400 watts. The surge is 4,800 watts. That's seconds, guys. And then that X-Boost technology is 3,400 watts. The Delta III Max is almost the same, actually. So power's 2,400 watts, surge is 4,800 watts, and X-Boost is the same. It's 3,400 watts. So the power is the same on those two. Now, when you move into Max Plus, things change. Now, your standard power is 3,000 watts, so that's a nice jump. Your surge now supports 6,000 watts, again, just for a second or two. And your X-Boost is now 3,800 watts. Now, there's a new feature that is only in the 3 Max Plus. It's not in the 2 Max. It's not in the 3 Max. It's called AC outlet priority. And what this does is it allows now two different zones on the front of the machine. I'll show you this later on. You've got AC1 and AC2. You've got two plugs on AC1 and two plugs on AC2. Now you can plug in a surge protector if you'd like. That's up to you. But what this does is you can prioritize AC1. And so if all of a sudden the power stations may be running low on battery, but you know the stuff on AC2, like a light, isn't as important as the stuff on AC1, could be your refrigerator. It'll prioritize, turn off AC2 and allow AC1 to run longer. Really, really nice. Let's talk about UPS, an uninterrupted power supply. And there's so many people out there that actually need this. And I'll tell you, this has really changed. So check this out. The Delta II Max has a UPS that will switch within 30 milliseconds. The Delta III Max within 10 milliseconds. Think about that. That is amazing. But the Delta III Max Plus goes even further. So it's within 10 milliseconds, but it has an interface called HID, which stands for Human Interface Device. And it is a communication standard that allows a UPS to act as a plug-and-play device, communicating its status to a computer's operating system without needing special software or drivers. So if your computer was running low on battery, it would actually communicate to the EcoFlow Delta 3 Max Plus, and the Delta 3 Max Plus would automatically switch to UPS. Let's talk about battery. Now we're going to talk about chemistry, we're going to talk about cycles, we're going to talk about expansion. So all three of these power stations, the Delta 2 Max, 3 Max, and 3 Max Plus, have a 2048 watt-hour battery. The chemistry on the Delta 2 Max is lithium iron phosphate, LFP. Now the 3 Max and the 3 Max Plus has stepped up. And what they've done is they have an automotive grade LFP. All right, now I'm going to pull up some images in a moment, but let me just tell you also about the craftsmanship that changed. So something new, but they call it CTC craftsmanship. And it means this design prevents overnight condensation damage and enhances shock resistance for long-term reliability. Let me pull up some images so you can actually see some information on this, because it's pretty interesting. And it just means that the 3 Max and the 3 Max Plus are going to be more durable, and they will last longer because of that. Now, as far as cycles, the Delta 2 Max has 3,000 cycles on the battery, and then it's 80%, which isn't bad. The Delta 3 Max and the 3 Max Plus now have 4,000 cycles, and then they go to 80%. Now, understand something too. As a consumer, when you buy these, read the manual. Make sure you do the maintenance. Don't let these batteries sit around for 8-9 months and not use them, because you'll void your warranty and you'll damage the battery. So just be aware. Expansion. Let's dive into that. The Delta 2 Max is expandable to 6,144 watt-hours. And basically it uses the XT150 port in the back. So you can connect 2 batteries. As you can see, we've already got one on top of the actual power station on the right there. The 3 Max is not expandable. The 3 Max Plus is. So the 3 Max Plus can now go to 10,000 kilowatts. That's pretty amazing. And you're going to do that with 2 batteries using a new battery extension port we'll be looking at later on. Now we're going to go over ports, but let me tell you the number of ports. Check this out. The Delta 2 Max has 15 ways to power devices. It's got 15 ports. The Delta 3 Max has 9, and the Max Plus has 10. Okay, just think about that. Now, as far as AC outlets, the 2 Max has 6 AC outlets. The 3 Max and the 4 Max have 4 AC outlets. Concerning USB Type-C, the 2 Max actually has 2 100-watt USB Type-C ports right there on the front. The 3 Max has 3 USB Type-Cs. One of them is 100 watts, and then the other 2 are 30 watts. Now the 3 Max Plus steps that up. 3 USB Type-Cs. One of them is 140 watts. The other 2 are 45 watts each. Not bad. Now, USB Type-A, you've got 4 of them on the Delta 2 Max. You've got 2 12-watt and 2 18-watt. The Delta 3 Max and the 3 Max Plus both have 1 18-watt USB Type-A. And that kind of tells you something, right? Most people are using USB Type-C, but they still wanted to keep a USB Type-A in there. Let's talk about car charging. So the good news is all 3 of these power stations have a 126-watt car charger. So you can still use that. That's DC. I like that. Now let's talk about an Anderson port. Great for people at RV. So the 2 Max doesn't have an Anderson port. The 3 Max doesn't have it. But guess what? The 3 Max Plus has a 378-watt Anderson port. Now let's talk old school. DC 5521 barrel plugs. So guess what? The new power stations don't have them. The 3 Max or the 3 Max Plus, no DC 5521. But your Delta 2 Max has 2 of them, and they're 38 watts each. Now let's take a moment and talk about solar. The Delta 2 Max is 1,000 watts. You've got 2 XT60Is, 11 to 60 volt, 15 amp. And there are some differences on these. The 3 Max, 500 watts, 1 XT60I, 11 to 60 volt, 13 amp. A little lower than the Delta 2. Now when we go to the 3 Max Plus, they stepped this up. So again, you got that 1,000 watts. It's 2 XT60Is, 11 to 60 volt, 18 amp. Not bad. Now, as far as DC input, right? When you want to connect a car charger, you want to connect, other devices to DC using the XT60. Just keep in mind that 2 Max says 12 volt or 24 volt, 8 amp. The information's not available for the 3 Max, sorry to tell you, but it is available in detail for the 3 Max Plus. So they say if you're using a 12 volt, you'll get 8 amp. If you're using a 24 volt, you'll get 8 amp. And if you're using a 48 volt, you'll get 10.4 amps. Let's now talk about something that's really cool. As you know, these power stations are mostly connected to the internet, right? You connect them to your Wi-Fi. And they can know about a storm before you do. Well, the 3 Max and the 3 Max Plus now have something called Storm Guard. I'm going to bring up a slide. Check this out. So you can see on the screen there, on the left side, you can turn on Storm Guard. And what'll happen is it'll monitor for severe weather alerts and automatically trigger AC charging remotely. So think about that. Your power stations, as long as they are connected to AC or some other way, I think mostly AC, they will recharge themselves because there's a storm coming. That is pretty cool. I'm going to take a moment and talk about temperature because I don't do this enough. And now, why am I talking about temperature? Because you might buy this to be able to use it in your environment. Your environment could be very different than mine. So we're going to talk about, obviously discharging operating temperature. We're going to talk about optimal operating temperature and even storage temperature. So let's talk about discharge operating temperature. And keep in mind, all 3 of these power stations have the same data. So I'm just going to put this in the middle of the screen. So discharge operating temperature for these power stations is 14 degrees Fahrenheit to 113 degrees Fahrenheit. But EcoFlow says optimal operating temperature is a range between 68 degrees Fahrenheit and 86 degrees Fahrenheit. That's optimal. But as you can see, the discharge operating temperature range is pretty high. Now, what about storage? It's very similar. So your storage temperature can range from 14 degrees Fahrenheit to 113 degrees Fahrenheit. But they're asking if you can actually, it's called optimal storage temperature of 68 to 86. So as you can see, whether you're operating it or you're storing it, these recommended temperatures and operating temperatures are very similar. I hope that was helpful. Let's talk about Bluetooth. All 3 of these power stations have Bluetooth. Now, they don't state the actual version, so I'm sorry I can't provide that. All 3 of these power stations also have Wi-Fi, but let me tell you, they work off of 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. Now, that could be an issue if someone's got a router that's only 5 gigahertz, but most of the time, a lot of these newer, routers have what they call dual band, where it'll go back and forth. Maximum operating altitude. Man, I've never talked about this. Now, this is not listed for the 2 Max, but it is listed for the 3 Max and the 3 Max Plus, and the range is the same. Well, there's no range. They're saying a maximum of 9,843 feet for the 3 Max and the 3 Max Plus. Very interesting. You start looking at some of this stuff. Now, what about noise level? The Delta 2 Max, they say, has a 30 dB, noise level, but they don't mention the load. Is that under 500 watts? Is that under 600 watts? But the 3 Max and the 3 Max Plus, they say 25 dB. That's pretty low for a load under 600 watts for both of those power stations. Now, weight has changed a little bit. The Delta 2 Max is a little heavier. It's 50.7 pounds, or 23 kilograms. The 3 Max, 44.7 pounds, or 20.3 kilograms. And the 3 Max Plus, 48.7 pounds, or 22.1 kilograms. Now, let's talk about the extra battery, and then I'll end up with the warranty in a moment. So, the extra battery weight for the Delta 2 Max is 42 pounds, or 19 kilograms. The 3 Max doesn't have a battery expansion port. And the 3 Max Plus is very interesting. So there's no weight available for the new 3 Max Plus battery. But I want you to also understand that the 3 Max Plus is compatible with the Delta 2 Max battery, a Delta 3 battery, a Delta Pro 3 battery, all right, and of course the new one coming out called the Delta 3 Max Plus battery. I don't have weight there. And let's talk about warranty. So the Delta 2 Max came out with a 5-year warranty. The Delta 3 Max and the 3 Max Plus can have a 5-year warranty too. They're going to give you 3 years up front right there. But if you register within 90 days, and I believe you have to connect it to the app, you will then get an additional 2 for a total of 5 years. Now this video is new, so you might need to reach out to EcoFlow to get a little clarification. You're getting 3. If you register and you use the app to connect it, you'll get the additional 2. That's what I have for now. We're going to go ahead and just take a look real quick at design and how it's changed, you know. I mean, look at the add-on battery in itself. Look how much smaller it is. And because this is the Delta 3 Max Plus, it can support another battery on top. So you can do 2 batteries. Now, the top is flat, and you do get some nice carry handles. So that's nice. And the top is flat here also. But you do get your actual battery cable, and it gets stored in there. So very interesting. Now, we're going to go over ports later on, so we won't cover that right now. But one of the other things that changed was ventilation. So your ventilation was on the side of the Delta 2 Max. It's actually on the front and the back of the 3 Max Plus. And this actually does a little better when it comes to keeping everything cool than the 2 Max. It's a nice design. But let's take a look at some of the doors that cover the ports. Before I cover the door that cover the ports, show you your battery ports are on the side of the Delta 2 Max. As you can see here, the battery ports are actually on the back of this. Your AC outlets are in the front. Your USB outlets are in the front. So that's great. Here, they put all of your outlets. So you have your USB in the front, and in the back, you have your AC outlets, and you have your car charger and all that. So let me turn these around so we can take a look at them. So out of the box, here you go. Delta 3 Max Plus on the left side, Delta 2 on the right. So what they did here, they covered your ports. These drop down and slide inside. Isn't that nice? So you still get a car charge port. Look at that. New battery port. Right? You've got all. And here, you've got a door that lifts up to get you your solar, your reset button, your AC outlets, and there's the old 5521s. Well, that's kind of what the back looks like. And again, here's that ventilation. It really does a good job on the 3 Plus. A nice upgrade, definitely keeps it cooler. And here are the battery cables. This is the XT150 connector here. Now what they did with this, which is cool, is if you want to run this longer, there's actually an adapter, and you can connect two cables to make it longer. I believe these are 3.3 feet, if I'm not mistaken. But, you know, stiff cable does the job. This is a new battery cable. They use these on the Delta 3 Pro, just to give you an example. They're both the same size, 3.3 feet. But it's flat, you know, so it's basically made, so if you're going to put this next to, like say, push it up against the wall, you could see that it just can go in and down. This specific cable, it goes on the side of the Delta 2 Max, and, you know, it's not going to be as flat. That's one of the big differences there. Those are the cables connected. I mean, you could see this, right? That it actually does come out a lot to the point, you know? It's a very stiff cable. This cable here, again, allows you to push that right up against the wall. So, very, very interesting. We're going to now cover ports. Let's start off with the battery port real quick. We just recently covered the batteries. This is the Delta 2 Max. It's got two battery ports. These are XT150. So that's what they look like. And then the new Delta 3 Max Plus is expandable. It does have a battery port. And this is the newer style. So you'll find this on the Delta Pro 3 and a few other power stations, even like I think the Delta Pro Ultra, if I'm not mistaken. Covering the AC outlets, you could see here that the Delta 2 Max has 6 AC outlets, and they're in the back, by the way. These are 2,400 watts. The surge, again, is 4,800 watts, and X boost is 3,400 watts. Now, when we go over to the Delta 3 Max Plus, you'll notice it's got 4 AC outlets. And the Delta 3 Max, same thing, 4 AC outlets. Now, one of the big differences here is the 3 Max Plus actually does what they call AC outlet priority. Now, we talked about that earlier when we covered the specs, but you could see here, you've got AC Zone 1 and AC Zone 2. So go back to the specs if you want to learn more about that new feature, AC outlet priority. When it comes to USB Type-C, the Delta 2 Max has two 100-watt USB Type-Cs. Now, one thing they did with the Delta 3 Max and the Delta 3 Max Plus is you now have 3 USB Type-Cs. Now, I will tell you, the Delta 3 Max basically comes with one that's 100 watts and 2 that are 30 watts. But the Delta 3 Max Plus, which is right here, has 140 watt and then 2 45 watts. So really, really nice to have. USB Type A, the Delta 2 Max has 4, 2 12 watt and 2 18 watts. Now, the Delta 3 Max and the 3 Max Plus only have one 18-watt USB Type A. They put more USB Type-Cs in this power station. Let's talk a little bit more about DC. So car chargers, the Delta 2 Max has a covered 126-watt car charger. And the Delta 3 Max and 3 Max Plus also have a car charger. It's 126 watts, and it is covered. Even on the Max, you'll have this nice, handy cover, which I like. When it comes to Anderson ports, you only have one Anderson port on the Delta 3 Max Plus. The Delta 3 Max and the Delta 2 do not have an Anderson port. This handles 378 watts. Now, as far as the barrel ports are concerned, the DC5521, you actually have 2 of them on the Delta 2 Max. These are 38 watts each, but the Delta 3 Max and 3 Max Plus don't have those ports anymore. When we go over solar, The Delta 2 Max has 1,000 watts of solar. They've got two XT160i ports right there. All right, you're talking 11 to 60 volt, 15 amp on each of those. Now, solar's a little bit different with the Max and the Max Plus, and I'm talking about the Delta 3. So solar on the Delta 3 Max is 500 watts with one XT60i at 11 to 60 volt, 13 amp, so a little lower. But if you go to the Max Plus, you've got 1,000 watts. You've got two XT60Is, right? So 1,000 watts, 500 watts on each, 11 to 60 volt, 18 amp. So that's nice that it's handling more amperage. Now, when it comes to the display, at the end of the day, to my knowledge, they both give you all the same information. If you're connected to Wi-Fi, it's going to show that it's connected to Wi-Fi. But you're going to have, obviously, this battery is 31%. This battery is 57%. You do have a battery ring here, and you do have battery rings here. Your input wattage and your output wattage. Again, inputs on the top, outputs on the bottom. So both of these displays are going to give you the information you need. This one's just a little cooler and a little bit more futuristic. As far as power buttons are concerned, this is the power button for the Delta 2 Max in the front. This is for the actual USB, and then in the back there is a power button that controls DC for the DC barrel plugs and the car charger. As far as power buttons here, they're all in the front pretty much. So you've got your AC1 button, your AC2 button, the power button for the power station itself. So here's AC1, here's AC2, and then we should have something in the back. Let's take a look. So the Delta 2 Max, there is your power button for your AC outlets. There's your power button for all of the car charger and the 5521. And then you do have one more power button here for your Anderson and your car charger. So I did notice that. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching our video. I sure hope you found it helpful. And if you did, give us a thumbs up. We'd appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and put our social media up on top if you want to follow us. And you'll be able to subscribe to our channel by clicking this round Tech Made Easy logo. Guys, thank you so much and have a wonderful day.